every athlete, every person, every human being has an opportunity. Some opportunities don't come when you want them. But if you're prepared, good opportunities can happen. Always be ready, because you never know when your number is gonna get called.
I'm not coming back.
Emmy Apparel. Encourage me. I'm young.
Calvin T. Mann, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to EMIYTV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
That is Dr. Calvin T. Mann. Good afternoon. It's a special day. I'm gonna wear it out. so you might as well get used to that one. Anyway, welcome to Emmy. Today is this EMIYTV? Put Your Family First podcast. What was the
Authors and Advocates?
Authors and Advocates.
Mm-hmm.
See what happens when you stop drinking. What's going on, ladies? What's going on, Heather? How you doing?
That's Dr. Heather to you.
Yes. Doctor. That's right. Stand up. Don't let them get away with nothing. Malik, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. In the building is my big sister. How you doing, my aunt?
I'm blessed than you.
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a decent mood today. I figure we might as well, laugh a little bit, because that's my thing. I like to laugh, right? And so today it's Authors and Advocates, and I'm sure this is where Heather wants to take over, because she likes to hog up the space. Right?
That's not what I call it, Calvin.
Doc.
I share
Doc.
the space.
Listen, Doc.
I frame the concept, though.
Listen, Doc. Listen, Doc. So again, welcome to EMIYTV, Put Your Family First podcast. I am the host sometime, I believe.
It's a rare form today.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Like a little kid on sugar, isn't he?
Yes. Right. Little kid off sugar. Right. Anyway, today is Authors and Advocates. We're going to have a great conversation. Of course, you want to tune in for, there will be some solutions at some point if we're allowed. If we can get a couple across. Y'all don't understand what that means. So, anyway, Miss Heather. Doc.
A good day, good people. I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with our sister, my Aunt Sabah. And as we look at our month and how we span our month to make sure that we cover a lot of the topics that we have committed to, we have selected that this week is Authors and Advocates. And so really, everybody actually at the table is an author or an advocate. I'm going to say Monique is an advocate for people's voices, and so that's why she's one of our engineers here, because she wants to make sure people's voices are heard. So we really appreciate you for that, and for being with us every week and making sure this show goes on and goes on right. So thank you for that. And our topic around Authors and Advocates today is about reading. One of the things that we have been committed to is to encourage reading, and why we need to, as a culture, encourage reading. We're going to talk a little bit about that today and how important that is. Even in this time, this election season that we're in, it's even as important as when we were at the polls and we voted on Tuesday, how we had to pay attention to what was written or not written on your ballots, because I understand that there's been an increased interest in keeping people from voting. And that voting process has a lot to do with how we read. We want to take the shortcuts a lot of times to information. And so we go to TikTok, where you can hear it in 30 seconds or less. So you go to all the different types of social media. But even though you may get an introduction to information there, you must do your own due diligence. That means you have to find out for yourself. You have to read, and you also have to have credible sources that you get information from. So reading is not just fundamental, but reading is life, which is our statement that we make and we stand by and Encourage Me, I'm Young, and how important that is to a family and a household. It's so important to us that we launched a Reading is Life initiative for boys 3 to 7. And in that initiative, it was really so that we could help families get ahead of some of the issues that boys face going into school, going into education, and in daycare. So we know that literacy is a huge part of that. And to develop the love of reading, to be read to read to listen to the stories is really important, especially for children that age, but more importantly for our boys that age. We have to develop a love of reading, and we develop that early as a culture. We do that with our storytelling, which is another event I want to share with you that's coming up on the 17th. It's one of our initiatives with the Ready Women Collective, where we're having the storytelling featuring Antoinette James and Christina Hayes, who are our featured guests, who are going to give us some tips around storytelling using their own stories, so that we leave with some really useful tools around how to tell your story even on social media, how to tell your story in an interview, how to tell your story when it counts. And so it's really important that if you haven't signed up for that free workshop, you might want to do that right now. You can go to my website at yourinspiredjourney.com under events and find our storytelling seminar that's coming up this Saturday, August the 17th at 10 a.m. You get more details there, so hope you can make it and attend so that you can contribute to this journey. And so quickly back to our reading and how important that is to our culture. Calvin, you want to say anything about that before I keep going?
No, you said it all.
And as I mentioned today, that we have all at the table today are authors and advocates. And so my Aunt Sabah, who was introduced earlier, is going to have a minute to share with us about some of her book projects. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and my memos?
Well, I have 10 books written. Mm-hmm. One published so far, and it's a series of memoirs called Messages from the Goddess, Memoirs on Life Lessons. And the first book is called Alcohol or Spit. Which would you like? So
tell us about it.
Well, first, tell us about you.
Well, I'm a motivational healer. All my life, I've been the person to motivate people and bring people together, stop disagreements and fights. I literally have stood between two people and held them apart numerous times. And I assist people in learning how to communicate with each other, and not talking out of anger or your frustration or whatever it is, because a person can't hear you like that. So finding a way to word it in a way so that they're receptive. So I also have a spiritual-based personal development workshop called Relationship First Aid. And that is, in a non-invasive way, it helps people to look within at their own stuff. So you know how they say when you point one finger, somebody else is 3 pointing back at you? And that's absolute truth. So whatever it is you see in others, whether it's positive or negative, that's what you have within yourself. So I assist them in looking within and learning how to process the pains and the angers and to get to a space of self-love, something most people have never experienced. The books, again, I've got 10 written. I've got about 15 in queue. I have the titles, but I have not actually written them yet. And then I have 4 decks of cards. One is called My Aunt's Memos. Those are cards with words of empowerment, encouragement, or just something to make you say, The Tie That Binds is a deck of cards. It's 2 different decks from parent to child to ask them questions, to learn your parent as a person, and for the parent to learn their child as a person, and not just their child, and not just your mother or father. Then I have Shared Intimacies, which is also a 2-deck deck of cards, which assists people in learning each other in the beginning stages of a relationship, and then those who are already committed or thinking about being committed. And it gets into some real interesting, deep questions that at some point in time you're going to have to face in life. So if you have conversations ahead of time, you pretty much know if that's the person you really think that you should be in a relationship with. And then the last one is Me, Myself, and I. And those are questions that you ask yourself. That also is a 2-deck. So the first one are really simple questions just to get, for you to get to know yourself. Because we really certain things we just don't think about. So like if you were an animal, what type of animal would you be and why? If you were a flower, what type of flower would that be and why? And then the second deck gets a little bit more serious. Are there people that you haven't forgiven in your life and why? So those are the 4 different decks that I have. So everything is about relationship building, but more importantly, the relationship with yourself.
And what I love about the My Memos is that, one, they're easy to read, but you have to read for understanding. You have to read for clarity. And they're simple enough because we've used them with children. We've used them at our Man to Man Youth Conference, a youth summit. We've used it in sessions. I've used them in one-on-one sessions. I've used them in group sessions. And they are just invaluable as a tool. It's a great icebreaker. It's a great reflection tool. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can use them. And my aunt gives you some of those tools, but she ultimately encourages you to come up with your own ways to use it, which I really value that as well. And it never gets old. It never gets old because you can look at one of those cards through one lens at one moment, and then when you see it again, it's a totally different response. Mm-hmm. Which they're living, they're alive, they're challenging you, and so I really value the My Memos and the books too, of course, because I've had those over the years too. Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about in terms of being authors, because all 3 of us are authors at the table. Calvin has a new book that he is made available for the public and is encouraging. It is this cursive writing book. I hope you can see that. Mm-hmm. And it's an amazing tool. We have our 17-year-old because they don't teach cursive writing in school. Mm-hmm. And I realized that a friend of mine got married recently. Her daughter got married recently. And I hand wrote a note in her card, and she was stumped by my handwriting. She couldn't read it. Wow. I was like, but it didn't occur to me that, I'm just writing because I'm used to cursive writing. Mm-hmm. And I write all my cards like that. And I'm like, oh, that's probably why she was reading the print on the card, but she didn't read my message. And so she passed it to her bridesmaid to read it, and she was just like, okay, well, I guess this is going to be personal for you, and you can save it for later. So, but none of them could read they couldn't read cursive writing. And so, I mean, I understand it because if you're not taught, and you can't be expected to execute it. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that we don't, as a culture, pay attention to it, because they still need to have that because of the developmental aspects of cursive writing, because of the creative aspects and elements of cursive writing. So I just wanted to bring in this book because also from now until the end of the year on this EMIYTV podcast, we have challenged our listeners to read a book, at least a book a week. We're recommending books to read. And so I'll tell you the books that I'm reading. So we read a lot in our household. And it's important, and not just books, but we read, we do research papers, we do studies, we do all kinds of opportunities to read. But I'm still kind of old school, so I like to have the books, even though you can get ebooks and things like that. People have access to that. It just doesn't resonate with me as much as having a page to physically turn and put your fingers on. So, but again, I just wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to know that this book is out. It's available to the public, and also you can reach out to us and get copies from us directly. So if you're in our area, ever in the Southfield area as well, reach out to us. We'll make sure we get those copies to you. And there is a cost, and I want to say, how much is the cost, Calvin? $27.99.
$27.
Oh, $27 even.
So in the book, it's cognitive. Cursive is cognitive. So in the book are not just the alphabets, right? It's positive words.
Affirmations. Mm-hmm.
Right? You get further into the book, right? It gives them positive settings. So we're addressing the mindset as well. That's just an amazing thing, right?
It is. It is.
Because we moved away from cursive writing, which impact the entire country, right? So, even just today, looking at the poor cities, just a little research, they removed cursive writing before 2010. See, so it's where you understanding comes with cursive writing, but I don't want to get on my horn because it's hard for people to hear you when you're blowing. You know what I'm talking about?
But it's important. It's important that we, as a community, as a culture, establish or reestablish some of the things that we know work for us. And I think this is one of the tools that we're missing, and that it's also a direction that we can continue to push in our young people. Just because it's not offered in the school doesn't mean that we don't offer it as a community. So we need to make sure that we are making those tools and resources available. If you are an author, especially an author of self-help author, if you're an author that is sharing history, our historic information, impact that you and or your loved ones are making in the community, reach out to us. Send us your book and your book list so that we can also make sure that people have access to them, and to encourage other people to continue to read. So we want to be a part of that as a community. We make those things available through our network and want to make sure that we keep encouraging people to write. For some people, it might start with just a poem. Some people might start with a short story. Some people might start with journaling. Whatever your introduction, your pathway, keep following it. Stay encouraged and keep writing, because writing is another spiritual tool that we have. So I wanted to also talk about not just the value and importance of reading, but how valuable it is and how helpful it is in our journey. There is not a moment where reading is not important. When you're driving, there are lots of opportunities to read. We read signs, we read billboards, we read license plates. I mean, there are all kinds of things that you need to pay attention to. So not only is it reading, but it's also drawing your attention to some things that you need to pay attention to. Caution signs, all those kind of things that require us to read. And I am I forgot about this. I am a certified adult literacy tutor, and I have been for a number of years, probably like 16 years now. And so I have been a part of that process of helping adults who have low literacy skills and or no literacy skills increase their skill set. And in a way, I mean, so I was certified through, I can't even remember the organization now. I'm sorry, they were in the Fisher building. I can't remember the name of it now. But anyway, I was certified through them. It'll come to me. I was certified through them and had an opportunity to work with hundreds of adults to help them get to their next level. And some of it was confidential. Some of it was, people were okay being sharing that they needed some support in this area, which I think was both courageous and important for people to know that everybody is not at the same literacy level. But it is not an indicator of your intelligence. There are multiple types of intelligences. And I was teaching in a summer program this year throughout the summer. And one of the things I wanted them to leave with is understanding just your academics was not defining as your only sense of intelligence, because book smart is not the only smart you can be. There's also spatial. We talked about this a few weeks ago too. There's that spatial intelligence. It's kinesthetic intelligence. People who can do yoga, or athletes. People can use their bodies and coordinate. There are multiple types of intelligence. And so I don't want people to feel like, because my reading level is at this space, it doesn't mean that you don't improve it. It just means that this is where you start and you build from here. So it's no shame, it's no shade, it is an opportunity. And so we take those opportunities and build on those things too. So if you know you have low literacy skills, one of the things you can do is increase reading your books, and then you can also use phonics tools to help you to navigate strengthening your reading. But the goal is to do something to improve every day, and that could be writing your affirmations. It could be reading the Bible if you like. It could be reading the newspaper. I'm not going to suggest social media as a medium, because we see way too much stuff on there and it's captions, but that is still an opportunity to read. So I want to encourage you to look at the different ways you can incorporate reading in your day, and the same thing for your children and grandchildren. Encourage reading, because it is important. It's an important legacy that we leave. It's a way to reestablish who we are and the words that we say and speak and read. So continue to work for that. Move forward with that too. Calvin, you have anything you want to add for that?
No. Now back to my aunt.
Wow.
You said it all, baby. I don't have to add to it, because I'm interested in how she came up with these titles to her books.
Honestly, they were all spiritually inspired. It's not anything that I intellectually came up with. All of the stories are about something that happened to me in real life. And so, one of my stories, I haven't written it yet, but one of them is called Stick Your Plug In. And I was at a friend's house. We had a function at her house. And so I was trying to help her straighten up. And I was going to vacuum. And I went to put it in the extension cord. And I'm thinking, it's like, this is not working. So I said, your cord is broken. She said, it can't be broken. I just used it. So when I looked again, I had stuck the cord in itself. So
wow.
There was no connection to the source.
Right.
So it was like your connection with God or the source. It's like, so stick your plug in the wall, stick your plug in the source, connect to the source. So that's what that story is going to be about. So that's how these names come about. When I get or see potential story, it's a feeling I get, and then I have to stop. I said, okay, this is supposed to be a book, and I pay attention to everything, and then the name comes. So I've got probably 30 names, but I haven't written the stories yet.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Let's see, one of my favorite books. One of my favorite books in terms of our culture is a book called 2000 Seasons. And it's a different perspective on from a young person's perspective. So this is like teenager perspective. And they were the story was based in Africa in a particular tribe of people, and it was just kind of at the start, or it's at the beginning of slavery. And they were talking about all the cultural differences that were taking place and all of the tribal wars that were taking place, and how the stories of slavery and the brutality of it started to come back, because at first they didn't know. They thought slavery was the same as it had been. If you're enslaved, that means you're incorporated into somebody else's tribe. And, there's some shared labor things that go on, but it was nothing like they were actually experiencing. And so the author, it was such a vivid story. And it was about 6 characters, and each character told their journey from their point of view, but they were all one collective, and they were trying to stay together, but eventually they got separated. But just their stories together and combined gave such an important insight that it wasn't necessarily about, what the circumstance caused them to become, how it caused some of them to be stronger in their voice or stronger in their beliefs. And it was just a powerful book. I think another one of my favorites, another book is called From the Pyramids to the Projects. And in that book, there's a story called Nzinga Revisited. And it's one of the poems I use in my workshops for my Central Arts of the Goddess workshop, because it talks about the beauty of a woman and the natural beauty of a woman, her eyes, her hair, her shape, her movements, and how powerful it is. And you can put her in any space and she's still as powerful as that image that you might have of her. So that's Nzinga Revisited. And again, that book is From the Pyramids to the Projects. I see one of my recent books. So I recently read Dr. Sabrina's book. He's Not a Statistic. My son is not a statistic. It's an awesome book. I'm recommending that for my boss session. So we do workshops with grandmothers about their sons. And that book I think is awesome. It's 12 laws, or it's actually 13. And a little bit more extra at the end. But these are strategies that we can use as mothers, specifically around single mothers raising sons. And I'm looking at that as grandmothers and mothers raising sons. It's so much rich information and experiences in it that it is worth the investment of the time in reading it, to get reconnected. And then my book that I'm reading right now, which is my recommended book for today, is called Extreme Self-Awareness Leads to Happiness. And it says knowledge of self produces love for self. And it's Christopher Okoye, right? I'm saying right, Jr. He was at an event that our son Ra attended for the culmination of their summer program, and he was one of the guest speakers there. And I really wanted his book based on what he was sharing, which is about self-awareness. And it's such a powerful, it's a way to ease you into a mindset that where you don't have a lot of resistance to the mindset shift. And so I like that most about the book. So this is where I am now. I'm probably halfway through the book. It's an easy read. It's like 9 chapters in the book. But I think it's worth reading too. So it doesn't take me long to read books, even in the midst of all the stuff that I do. Anyway, it doesn't take that long. So this has been my supermarket read. So when I'm standing in line or I'm waiting for something, that's when I've been reading it. So it's only like a page or 2 at a time. But it's something that's easy to read and get over. Or get through, rather. You have a favorite book? Are you recommending a book today, Calvin?
I'm still trying to get to know my aunt. I'm on the other side of this conversation.
I don't know why you keep referring back to my aunt when I'm asking you a question.
It's advocates and authors.
It is. And guess what?
She's an advocate as well. So please tell everybody, what are some of your things that you...
Should I move over?
Right. You have to get some lightning bolts in here.
Some of the things that you advocate for.
I have a prison ministry, and so I advocate for, I don't want to say our black men, but, I've got about 100 men in the ministry, and about 99.9% are blacks. You might as well say almost 100%. And when you, as a mom raising two males, in the city of Detroit, you know, there's certain things that you have to deal with consciously and unconsciously. And there's, unfortunately, they have been projected to be the bane of society. And I know that they're the exact opposite. So, you know, I advocate for these men who, when you listen to their stories, they didn't have positive role models. They didn't get the love that they needed when they were a child. They didn't have the support. They didn't have role models. The greater percentage of them didn't have a dad in the home. And so they appreciate somebody just being there for them, not wanting anything, because I don't ask them for anything. I pay for everything out of my pocket. I do nothing but give to them, and they know it because they feel it. When you know, I used to go to the facilities, and when I would go in there, you can tell whether they feeling you or not because they are extremely sensitive to energy, and they know if you're there for your agenda or if you're really there for them. And so I never had a problem with the guys. You know, people would ask me, "Aren't you scared to go in there?" I'm like, "No, for what?" I don't see them. I mean, why would I fear them? I don't see them like that. I don't get that energy from them, and I'm not going to give it that I'm scared of you, because I'm not. You know, I'm there to love you where you at, not judge you for what you did. What you did is not who you are. And that's a big thing with them, not being judged. So I'm an advocate for that. I'm an advocate just for people treating everybody kind. You know, don't act out of your pain. Don't hurt people. They say hurt people hurt other people. So, you know, showing them how to deal with their own pain so that they don't lash that out and take that on somebody else in the home, in the workplace, in the grocery store line, you know, driving your car. You know, that's when these things come out. So those are some of the things that I advocate for. But the prison ministry, that's my baby.
For sure. But also, talk a little bit about your background with your, I don't want to call it a book club, but a study group. I know that's been a real part of your journey. So.
Yeah, that actually is one of when I first got started. And while we were sitting here thinking, when you talk about books, I don't remember the name of the book, but this book started me on everything that I'm doing right now, indirectly. And it was something about the blacks in the Bible or something like that. I was reading my mom's Bible, and she happened to get a Bible, you know, way back then, and it had all black characters. Characters in it. Right. And so, you know, it was very well written, absolutely beautiful. And then I was reading, and one day I said, "Mom," I said, "who in the Bible's black?" I said, "Other than the people carrying grapes and fanning the emperor or whoever, you know." And she said, "I don't know." She came home one day, and she told me she went to this bookstore, and she said, "I saw a book in there that said something. It was something blacks in the Bible. I have to look it up." And I did 80 miles an hour down the street because they were getting ready to close, and I bought that book. And I read that book, and the feeling that I got is like, well, everybody in it is us. So that gave me a whole different perspective. So the more I read, the more intrigued I was, and the more upset I got for being lied to. So that led me to, I said, "You know what? How come we didn't know this?" And she said, "I don't know." I said, "You know what? I'm going to have a meeting or something, you know, and just invite some people, and we'll have some discussion about us and culture." And that's what happened. I called family members, some friends, and back then my dad owned a restaurant, and the restaurant was full. It was full of people. We did on the day we were closed. That right there, I know now, didn't know then, that was a spiritual indication that this is in divine order. Because I don't even remember what I wrote. I think I have the original letter. And from that, we've had Carter G. Woodson's nephew was one of our members. Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, some of his direct students were members. We had authors come in to speak. I had a Maasai warrior come in with his spear and his shield. And it's real because that spear was sharp as a razor. And he told us his story. A lot of offices, we did functions and that type of thing. So it also built a bond between those. And then the killing part, women were invited, but they didn't stay. Like they would invite their wives and their girlfriends, sisters, or whoever. And the women would come and they were treated with the utmost respect. But they never stayed. It was always all men. Nothing that I planned. That's just the way it happened. Again, not knowing then that was part of my calling to work with men. So everything I do, everywhere I've ever worked, is always just men. Even now, So that study group, the men went and branched out and did different things, but from that, some of the members would go to the prison facilities, and I always wanted to go, and things just didn't allow it. And then about 15 years later, I met a guy that we used to go to school with. He actually went to school with my brother. And he came into our business at the time, and, we were just like, what are you doing now? And then he told me he was working at the prison. So I'm like, shut up. Can you get me in there? He said, yeah. And that's how I got into the prisons. So one thing led into another.
Fine timing.
But as a result of that, we would get, because like I said, my dad owned a restaurant. It was a soul food restaurant. And so one of the things that we would learn in the study group, you know me, I made flyers and stuff. We would just give people information, like the Willie Lynch speech. When I first heard about it, I just ran copies off. We were just giving it to people to help educate them on history and culture. So many lives has been touched and educated as a result of that. And, and I'm eternally grateful because, as I said, it was in divine order. There's nothing I planned. I didn't even know what I was doing. Every week I would get an inspiration or something would come and I would find a different book, a different author, or whatever it was that we were talking about. So that's, one more part of the journey. And like I said, that one is another one of my greatest, one of my achievement, if that's what you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I'm very humbled by.
A lot of times we miss a lot of signals, a lot of signs. Generally, if you pay attention, women who had healthy fathers are drawn to men. Men are drawn to them because it's balance. Mm. You will see that there's a difference, right? Because men who didn't have fathers are drawn to the energy. You don't possess the energy of being emotional. So when you do come, that balance comes to the table. We just did an event acknowledging, and each one of the women had their fathers, and they had no problem acknowledging the men. Each one of them have strong relationships with men. This is a draw. Mm. So it's not surprising, right? Because in a lot of those spaces with those women, they didn't have that. So they would leave. Anything that a man sticks to, he's here, he's present, right? It's going to be some energy that has him stay, right? And so when women are talking who had fathers, it's completely different. It brings a certain energy, but message to the system to listen. A lot of times we, as men, we look for the mothers in these women, right? That's what they do, right? And in the process, when you have chauvinism and all of these other unnecessary energies from emotional single environments, the only thing that will stabilize them is a woman who's had their father.
That's interesting.
It's a very powerful thing, and I think a lot of times we miss it. It's the same thing for our daughters. Our daughters walk into environments where they're emotional, where the people have not had their fathers. And so they will ignore the people that did have healthy fathering. They look outside of that, then they have to bump their heads, right? And that's a real thing. And this is where the culture has to reshape itself in understanding and paying attention, right? How important it is for the woman I choose had to have a father in order for me to get the proper balance and love from her. And so this is just some of the things that a lot of us, we miss, right? Because we're body first, right? And it's always about what we see. Oh, she got, man, woo, right? We're body first. And
visual.
right? And so then once there's a conversation at the table, if it's not a conversation that's acceptance, right? I want to control it. See? So even right now, and I say this because it's important to me to say this, right? Women, and I just said this the other day, women are the most raped. Women are murdered. Women right now are dying with babies in their womb since 2016. Women have to leave states to go get rid of babies. Women are underpaid. They're not equally paid on the same level. And we've had this society just in the last 3 weeks question the color of a woman in a position, but she's a woman. See? These are the things that are important and the reason why we do the work we do. Because we come to the table knowing these tools are important. So our young men, when they see a woman, they can look for balance. And in balance, I have respect for her. I'm respecting the home. I'm respecting the father. These are the things that we've taken away in all those dynamics that where you have gone into prison and they've accepted you. They didn't have a woman that had a father. So you would not be fearful. These are just traits that it's easy for me to highlight because of the work. And so, I just wanted to say, really thank you, right? Because, all that you do, you working with us over at the school, but I know there's more to you than just that. And that's why I kept going back to, right, to you in that process, right? Because there is so much more to you. And a lot of times people will miss that. Not saying that your girl was missing that. That's the balance.
She knows me.
She knows you. I'm just was coming back, right? She knows you, but the people don't necessarily know you. And the people that do know you don't lift you like they should. And so that's what I wanted you to have today.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you and all that you've done.
Well, since he wants to get a little bit deeper.
Oh, no.
No, so talk a little bit about your travels. And I do want you to talk about your interest in horses, too. But talk about your travels some, please.
Okay, be a little bit more specific.
Okay. So what were some of the major impactful places that you've taken outside of the United States, that you've been outside of the United States?
I've been to Mexico, the Dominican, and of course, I think I've pretty much been to every state in the United States. I've been to Mexico a couple of times. I think it's very important, it's critical for everybody to travel outside of their zip code. You need to travel outside of your state and see how other people live. Get to understand other people and other cultures. Experience the food,
Amen.
Do some one-on-one. It will unify people when they get to see that the perceptions that they had maybe are wrong. So that was one of the takeaways. I love to travel because I just I appreciate the beauty of the planet. I'm a waterfall holic. If I could go see every waterfall in the world, I would. But I appreciate just the simpleness of nature, just the sun. And it puts you in a space of gratitude. People are not grateful enough. And for the fact you woke up, even if life is not the way you want it. For the fact that certain things on your body don't hurt. For the fact that if everything works. It might not work 100%, but it works. A person who can't speak or can't swallow wishes that they could. A person that doesn't have any legs wish that they could just take one more step. A person that has eyesight, even if you have one that works. A person that can't see would give anything to be able to see the sun, the beauty of what colors look like,
That's
their
right.
families' faces. We take a lot for granted. We put a lot of energy on things, which is irrelevant. And I would like to watch, I'm a little bit off subject, but
Do your thing.
I like to watch certain movies, certain shows, because I watch certain shows. People might question why I'm looking at it, but I study people. That's my job. That's my calling. I like to see what makes people tick. And one of the shows is Why Did I Survive, or I Survived, or something like that. And when you hear about the horrendous things that these people have gone through, but the thing that they every single last one of them says, they don't say, "Oh my God, I wonder did somebody steal my car? Well, they're gonna take my money out of the bank." Not one. All they say is they wish they could see their family again. The priority is always on family and love, their loved ones.
Come on.
You know, but when we have our loved ones in front of us, we don't feel that same way. You do, but you don't act on it. So just putting a priority on what's really, really, really important in life, and it's relationships. It's not things, you know, and you're not promised 5 minutes from now. So, you know, that doesn't mean that don't make plans in life, you know, set goals and keep them, but embrace the moment that you have while you're in it, because you don't know what the next moment is going to look like.
For sure.
So,
Say that. Say that. That's what I'm talking about. See, that's just really, right, where the importance of who my aunt is. Right?
Yeah.
That question really, it expounds to who you really. A lot of times we, again, in that process, that was just such an important piece, because people, again, like you said, don't understand the importance of family when they're in the face. Now you're gone, it's just a different priority. You need to travel the world. Well, people don't understand what that takes sometimes, right? For you to travel the world, right? And the sacrifice it takes for you to go and just do that, right? To see some things. Your appreciation for nature, right? Your girl, she'll walk out barefooted, save crickets. Don't kill the moth, right? Instead of 2 birds, don't kill 2 birds with a stone, save 2 birds with a leaf. You know what I mean? Like, she changes.
We don't stone birds. We put them in nests.
She changes, right? If you come with a negative slogan, it'll be, but that's who she is. And that's important, right? And so that's why this was so important. If I'm gonna sit down next to because I got stories. She don't know the stories, right? But I have stories, right? And are you surprised? Because I have stories with my aunt. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be surprised.
Yeah, I have stories. And in those stories, a lot of times I asked about you, how you was doing. Yeah, a lot of times we had conversations. Yeah.
Look at my aunt.
Yeah. A lot of times we were having conversations, right? It was environments and people and the work and the things. And so, when you find good people, you have to hang on to good people, because you never know how important good people really are until they're gone. And so that's why some of the things that you do is so special, because you leave a word in a person's life. You leave a word in a person's life that may have been the last thing you said to them, but you left them in a space of love. So those are the types of things that you do, right? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. A lot of people don't even know how to appreciate that, right? Here's this little trinket, right? She'll little trinket you to death, right? But it is the intent for you to know that you're loved. And so that's the whole point, you know, and this is where I get into me about the reading. That's the whole point about reading. It's the stories. It's somebody else's story or somebody else's journey that impacts your journey, right? This Reading is Life campaign is really going to be special, and we're just starting it by sharing a book every time we come on the podcast, right? Why? Because literacy has to become the core, the middle, the beginning, the essence of how we move the culture and people away from ignorance and despair and lack. That's what books do, right? And so that's why we call it Reading is Life. And it's such an important piece. And so before I sign off with that book, I think you have something to say, and then we go to Maud, and she can start the process of telling people where they can reach her.
I think one of the important components of reading, and books in particular, is that it does open the possibilities. And if you really get in tune, it increases the imagination. Everything starts with the imagination. All new creative processes and ideas, it had to be imagined first. That is a creative process. And as creators in our culture, in our world, we have to continue to learn how to expand and explore our possibilities and unleash our imagination so that we can change things. And that's how we run into our gifts. That's how we open up opportunities. That's how we experience life through all of your senses. And so I'm just excited about encouraging others to read. And as much as I read, it's a lot. I spend a lot of time reading and in that space because I want to create. So if you are somebody who wants to develop the love of reading, join a book club, reach out to a friend, share an opportunity, share a story. This is where we start. It doesn't have to be something so big and grand. You don't have to start off with a 400-page novel. Find something that you like, that you have an interest in, which is why I was trying to get Ma to talk about her interest in horses and camping and all the stuff that is just so interesting to hear about, that is so different from what I would do. But anyway, so I'm so grateful for you being here with us today. I want you to talk about your upcoming workshop.
Okay.
As you close out, and how to get in touch with you.
Okay. So on August the 24th, which is the first date, it'll be a series. The workshop is called Relationship First Aid, Chaos to Peace, Journey to Self-Love. And it is a non-invasive way tools that I'll be giving people on how to look within and deal with the parts of yourself that you're not necessarily fond of. Like you might have anger issues or guilt or unforgiveness, low self-esteem. And so I will share with people tools on how to navigate through all of that. And it has to become a lifestyle, so it's something you have to do on a regular basis. And that will be at Crazy Wisdom Bookstore in Ann Arbor. You can reach me on relationshipfirstaid.com. The email address is relationshipfirstaid@yahoo.com. So, and the tickets are available on Eventbrite as well. So, looking forward to it.
Miss Heather?
You can reach me at yourinspiredjourney.com. That's yourinspired with a D, journey.com. Or you can just reach out and call me at 313-759-7855. That's 313-759-7855.
This Saturday, what do you have going on?
And we also have our storytelling seminar featuring Antoinette James and Christina Hayes, as well as our Ready Women Collective, Crystal Gunn, Dr. Chief Silent Storm, and myself. We'll be there to help wrap up that message around storytelling. And you can also register on Your Inspired Journey, too. You can find it under events.
Awesome. You can reach me at calvintman.com. You can also reach me at calvin@calvintman.com email, or calvintman@gmail.com. literacy is such an important piece, right? Today we were discussing advocates and understanding what and authors and understanding the importance of this conversation. The book that I'm recommending is There Is No Plan B to Your Plan A by Bo Eason. It's one of the most inspiring books I've read this year. And I'm going back to read it again, right? Because it literally impacted me in a way that I'm striving and viewing things in a completely different manner away from, right? So you got to get that book. There's no plan A. There's no plan B for your plan A. Bo Eason. Reading is Life is a campaign that we're going to constantly shove right alongside of our Smash Suicide campaign, right? Because literacy is such an important piece. The word reading is life. Reading is life means reading impacts your life at every level, from financial to spiritual. If you do not understand about reading, if you're not reading, this society says the average person has not read a book since they graduated from college. Some people have not read a book since they graduated from high school. That is what they're saying. So right now, society is dictating to you where not even the information that you're receiving that you even do research on. And it's a dangerous time. So this is why the Readings in Life campaign is coming. And that was the book that we chose today. I'm going to sign off here. I think it's important that everyone begin to read, teach your children to read, teach your household, start with the babies, and let's make sure that we build libraries inside our homes with the proper information. It's such an important piece. I am not who I am today without reading. My name is Calvin T. Mann, Dr. Calvin T. Mann. I'm the president and founder of Encourage Me, I'm Young. I look forward to seeing you all next Monday. And I'd like to thank everybody. Thank Monique, Mahat, Heather.
Dr. Heather.
Dr. Heather. Doc Heather, right? Dr. Heather, for just such a nice show today. This was very nice. And I truly appreciate you all. Peace.
You read the paper, it makes you cry. So many bad things happening that you can't deny. You've got to do more than just pray. We should work hard, people, each and every day.
Love and change, love and change. Love and do, yeah, love and do. Exactly what you want it to. Yes, it will, yes. Live yours, live your life authentic. Make it authentic as possible. Be true, keep it 100, no gimmick. Yep. Breathe in, don't doubt, breathe out. Let it out, good vibes. Gotta keep the vibes going. Life's short as possible. Do good, do your best. Love God, love it up. We stood, yeah we did.
Hadn't happened, the world losing its traction. They say, turn down your passion, but that's why we scrapping. Dragging, pulling
focus in the same direction. Ain't no hating, true pictures, shaking up the resurrection. Total misconception, how you move. I choose love, 10 commandments, follow the rules. God got me and I know it. In fact, he always show it. See, yeah, I saw it. Don't matter rich or poor. Yeah, I'm from the 8 township, Detroit City. They got my back and I'm bringing the help with me. Need help in the suburbs, help in the hood, help in rural areas, the sticks in the wood. We need help in the hospitals, help the high school. I'm serious to say, we need help for these fools. We need help for the leadership. Do your job, lead. Turn up the love and turn down the greed. We need help